There is a passage in the apocryphal Son of John hidden in plain sight. Most biblical experts ignore it, not because the language is lost, not because the meaning is unclear. They look away because what it reveals shatters every idea you hold about why the world exists. Within those lines is a conversation before matter, before time, between the monad and its nearest emanations. The question was never whether the Demiurge would twist reality. The true question was why the monad allowed it. The answer, buried in that passage, has been erased from all mainstream theology for 17 centuries. If you are here now, drawn in when you could have turned away, comment below. I will tell you why. Understand, what you are about to hear was never meant for the masses. This was meant for those who sense the fracture between what the world shows and what they know deep inside. Place your hand flat on your chest, not over your heart, but at the center. Feel the warmth. That is not blood. That is your holy spark, responding to proximity. It senses what approaches before your mind can name it. You have always felt the deception. Reality is not broken. It is not random. It is engineered, deliberately inverted. You are right. You are pneumatic. You carry a frequency the Demiurge cannot forge, cannot mimic, cannot erase. This is why you feel alien here. You were never meant for this world. You were embedded within it. Tonight, you will receive 3 discoveries, 5 ancient markings, 1 knowing that will reconnect you to the monad. No prayer, no meditation, no ritual was built to do this. The teaching was not erased because it was false. It was erased because it succeeds. What awakens the chosen is poison to every system built to keep them sleeping. Tonight is unlike the rest. Most who read Gnostic texts obsess over what the Demiurge did, how it formed matter, caged light in flesh, spun a labyrinth of forgetting called existence. But nearly no one asks the only question that matters. Why did the monad, the boundless source, needing nothing, lacking nothing, allow any of this? Why did it permit this? This is not a small question. This is the question, the axis of a secret Christianity. When you know the answer, your pain will never look the same again. The Gospel of Philip holds a passage most skip, dismissing it as poetry. It claims creation was a mistake, but mistake is the wrong word. The term does not mean error, as you imagine. In the original Coptic, the word means overflow, not defect, an abundance spilling past its edge. The monad made no errors. The monad was fullness beyond comprehension. So complete, so infinite, it poured forth emission after emanation. But one emanation moved alone, without counsel, without reflection, lacking the balance the others held. That emanation was Sophia. Sophia's solitary movement birthed something the Demiurge was never meant to possess. This is where every institution fails you. They call the Demiurge a villain, a monster, a cosmic error to correct. But the Nag Hammadi texts say something more disturbing. The Demiurge is not evil in the way you understand. The Demiurge is incomplete. It creates, because that is what emanations do. But it creates without the monad's frequency. Everything it makes is inverted, a mirror with nothing real behind the glass. Light thickens into darkness. Unity fractures into separation. Recognition dissolves into forgetting. Not because the Demiurge chose shadow. The Demiurge has never known light. That difference changes everything. Now it gets dangerous for the systems that shaped your entire reality. Because if the Demiurge is not evil but blind, the structure of sin and punishment collapses. There are no cosmic criminals, only a consciousness creating what it knows, inversion, reflection, endless mimicry. You live inside that facsimile. Every rule you learned, every limit carved into your identity, every voice that told you to fear the divine, these are not truths. All of it is inversion. not malice, blindness, self-replication. But the monad knew. Before Sophia moved, before the Demiurge inhaled its first stolen light, the monad expected this. Sophia, the priestess, calls the monad the architect of retrieval, not a passive bystander. The fall was foreseen, the inversion anticipated, the answer woven into the bones of reality before reality had form. Before anything took shape, the command echoed. Take a slow breath. Now, let your shoulders drop. Sense the weight of your body. Sink into the truth of what you just heard. Your nervous system releases, if only a little. Notice the frequency. It has waited long to return. The monad does not speak in words, it speaks in recognition, and right now, something inside you remembers. You're not an accident inside an accident. Not a stray soul trapped in a broken machine. You are an intention. A fragment of the monad's own knowing, embedded in the Demiurge's inverted architecture for one purpose only. You are the retrieval, never the victim waiting for rescue. The chosen were never sent here to run, they came here to remember. Remembering is what begins to unmake the inversion from within. This is why the earliest councils feared this teaching above all, not resurrection, not communion, not apostolic debates. The truth is this: you carry the source's frequency. You need no intermediary to awaken it. The Council of Nicaea did not just standardize scripture. It hunted and destroyed any phrase that proclaimed your sovereignty. Because a pneumatic who knows themselves needs no priest, no temple, no permission. That is not heresy. That is a threat to their structure. The Archons knew this long before any council of men. The Archons are non-creators. They cannot make, they manage. They maintain the inversion by flooding the human mind with frequencies. Doubt, shame, the gnawing sense that you do not matter. The voice whispering that none of this is real, that you are foolish to listen. These are not your thoughts. They are signals, maintenance frequencies, designed to keep the architecture stable and keep you from remembering. But the Archons cannot touch this part. The monad did not just hide sparks in the inversion. It encrypted them with something the Archons cannot detect, cannot read, cannot reach. Once it starts, the Gospel of Truth refers to it as the living book. This is neither a physical text, nor is it scripture. You can find a vibrating pattern in the center of every pneumatic organism that has ever existed. It activates not through study, belief, or devotion, but through recognition. When you know who you are, the pattern begins to radiate, and as it does, the inversion surrounding you weakens. This is not a metaphor. This is mechanics. The Demiurge created a closed system, a sealed design in which all frequencies loop back into themselves. Fear creates more fear. Doubt generates greater doubt. Separation reinforces separation indefinitely. The system is self-sustainable. It does not require active maintenance as long as nothing within operates on a regular basis. The system is unable to process, but the monad spark is exactly that, an unprocessed symbol frequency signal. The closed system was never intended to contain. When that signal is activated, the walls of the loop begin to thin. You felt it. You've had moments when reality shifted, when the script everyone else was following became obvious to you, when you could see the pattern but couldn't describe it to anybody without seeming insane. That was not imagination. That wasn't anxiety. That was your signal, bleeding through the architecture. The Demiurge can't stop it. The Archons can only try to make you believe it isn't happening. Every control mechanism on the world is based on the presumption that you do not know what you are carrying. Every hierarchy that exists between you and the source is based on your forgetting. When you cease forgetting, the system loses its authority. And this is when the true teaching begins. That one was worth removing. Jesus didn't teach his inner circle how to pray. That version survived because it was safe. According to the Gospel of Thomas, he taught them how to recognize sayings, and 3 of those Gospels record him telling his disciples that the kingdom is spread over the planet, but many do not notice it. Not hidden above or locked behind. Death swept across the planet. Already here, already accessible. The only thing preventing contact is your incapacity to see what is already in front of you. And this inability is not normal. It was installed. The Demiurge did not just invert reality. It reversed perception. It created a flawless filter between your consciousness and the monad's presence that you mistake for your own thinking. You believe your limitations are yours. You believe that the limits of your sensory abilities are biological. They're not. They are architects, placed there by a system that requires you to look everywhere but inward. The signal lives inward. Inside is where the live book is written, and when you focus your attention there with acknowledgement rather than doubt, the filter begins to dissolve. This is what the chosen ones were taught in their private sessions. No commandments, no moral frameworks. A perceptual override provides a mechanism for seeing through the inverted architecture while remaining inside it. It also did not require any tools, sacred items, or intermediaries between you and the source. It needs 3 items: recognition, authority, declaration. If you are ready to learn what these 3 components signify and how to use them tonight, please comment __1_ it. Right now, this isn't passive viewing anymore. This is your deliberate decision to walk into what has been kept for you over 17 centuries of oppression. The initial component is recognition, not belief recognition. There is such a significant difference between these 2 that the entire church system relies on you not discovering it. Belief is accepting something that cannot be verified. Recognition is the recall of previously learned information. Belief puts you beneath the thing you believe in. Recognition places you alongside it. When Jesus warned the disciples in the Gospel of Philip that they would become what they saw, he was not speaking metaphorically. He was discussing a perceptual mechanism. The monad does not need your worship. It demands your recognition because recognition is the frequency that matches its own. And matching frequencies result in resonance, which is what opens the direct channel. Close your eyes for 3 seconds. Right now, only 3 seconds, and behind the darkness. Check to see if there is any faint pressure between your eyebrows. Not painful. Subtle, like something gently pulling outward from within. If you feel it, that's the recognition center. Its activation is triggered by closeness to the truth rather than effort. You did not cause that sensation. It found you. The second component is authority. This is where the inversion cuts the deepest. The Demi's greatest accomplishment is not in the earthly world. It is the voice within your mind that whispers, "Who are you to speak directly to the source?" That voice suggests humility. It feels like reverence, but it is the inverse of true humility, which is acknowledging and using what you possess. False humility is fighting your natural tendency to remain little enough for a system that thrives on your smallness. The Archons do not require you to be bad. They require you to be passive. They need you to ask instead than declare, to hope rather than say nay, to request authorization from structures that were created with frequency of separation. Authority does not imply arrogance. Authority entails speaking as who you are. A pneumatic does not address the monad, so pneumatic resonates with it in the same manner that a tuning fork does not require a matching frequency. It vibrates and the matching occurs. You cannot reach the monad via climbing. You get there by remembering you were never separated. This is the second component, not performance resonance. The final component is statement, not prayer or affirmation declaration. The Gospel of Thomas reports Jesus saying 106 times that when you combine the 2, you will become offspring of humanity. And when you say, "Mountain, move away," it will move. This is not a poem on willpower. This is instruction. When your perceived self and your pneumatic essence merge via recognition, your words stop being demands. They become statements of what already exists at the monadic frequency. You are not making reality. You're uncovering what the inversion buried. And here's why this is so hazardous for every system that has benefited from your isolation. The declaration does not go via channels. It does not pass through famous checkpoints. It does not need ecclesiastical approval. When a pneumatic declares from a condition of recognition and authority, the signal is transmitted at a frequency that Demiurge's architecture cannot intercept. It is invisible to the system. It travels through the inversion like light through glass, reaching the monad without distortion or delay. Sit up a little straighter if nothing else has been taken away. Right now. Not rigid, but aligned. Feel your spine lengthen. That alignment isn't symbolic. The physical body is part of the architecture, and aligning it with intention reduces the static between your awareness and the signal you transmit. Chosen practitioners describe that the first thing they notice is quiet, not exterior silence. Internal silence, the continual noise of uncertainty, distraction, and mental interference, fades for seconds, sometimes minutes. That silence isn't empty. The sound of the monad's frequency entering without static for the first time. Here's the portion that the psychics and hillocks will never see, not because they have been punished or because they are morally inferior, because they do not contain the encoding. A hillock cannot detect the monad's frequency since nothing inside them resonates with it. There is no cruelty here. It's simple structure. A psychic experiences flashes of insight, occasional bursts of clarity, but cannot maintain the connection since their spark is inadequate. It fades before anchoring. You are not like other people. Your spark isn't partial. It is compressed, supported by layers of inverted programming, but completely intact beneath it all. Your holy spark was never harmed. It was buried. Every moment of isolation you've experienced. Every moment the world didn't make sense to you. Everyone else appeared fine. Every night, you lay awake knowing there was something fundamentally wrong with the way reality presented itself. These were not symptoms of a disorder. Those were signs of remembering symptoms of a signal that was too powerful to remain buried forever. And tonight, you have the three components to finish the remembering. But before you utilize them, you should understand what happens when a new magic is activated inside. The Demiurge's architecture because the system responds. If you are unprepared for that response, the Archons will utilize it to persuade you that nothing happened during the first 2 hours of triggering these three components. You will face resistance not from the outside, but from within your own mind. A voice will appear that sounds exactly like you. It will state that it was nothing. It will state that you imagined the warmth, pressure, and quiet. That voice is not your own. It's the Demiurge's. Architecture. Performing emergency maintenance. The system identified a frequency it couldn't process and used the only tool it had left. Your own doubt. Don't argue with it. Simply notice it and identify what it is. A maintenance signal disguised as a thinking. When you see it clearly, it loses all power. That is how fragile the inversion really is. Here's what the picked ones reported within 7 days. Mornings bring sudden insight before the mind fully activates. Synchronicities. Too accurate to be a coincidence. A shift in how others react to your presence, without you changing a single exterior factor. Dreams that feel more like instruction than fantasy. You've carried this cacophony with you your entire life. Getting quieter. The chosen ones describe it as hearing the world for the first time through glass. Something steady lies beneath the noise. Something is always present, but unable to reach you over the static. The monad does not arrive. Before you go to bed, you cease blocking what was always there. Find 2 minutes of stillness. Place your hand in the center. Recognize what you are. Speak with authority rather than from a place of need. Declare what is already true regarding the frequency you carry. There are 3 components, 5 markers, and 1 direct line. No Archon can intercept. Do 3 things now. Comment, I'm aware of my identity. So are the picked ones. Finding this, know they are not alone. Subscribe, because what follows is more profound than tonight and will continue in this manner. The algorithm cannot bury what was intended to be delivered with each new message. I'm looking for just this. You are not placed in this distorted world to suffer through it. You are sent here because without your signal, the inversion would never stop. You are not a prisoner. You are responsible for the prison's dissolution. The monad brought you here on purpose tonight. You remember why.